You're listening to UnitedWeStrike.com radio. Don't buy, don't comply. Ask why. UnitedWeStrike.com radio.
We seem to be having some difficulty connecting up with our next guest. I had originally had David Frank planned for this 30-minute segment. With him being unavailable right now, I am going to play a pre-recorded session that we did with David. Sorry we're not able to bring him in live, but I hope you enjoy this pre-recorded session. And for those of you out there who are enjoying that little taste of antique Righteous Brothers, yes, that was indeed Unchained Melody. Today I'm digging deep into the barrel and dragging up some oldies from back when I was young, had all my hair and teeth. But now, as we move right along with the United We Strike Marathon on November 12th, 2013, I have for your consideration David Frank, whose website is onevoicenow.info. That's onevoicenow.info. I think he's got some very interesting arguments to put on the table for your consideration. I'm going to bring him live now. David, are you there, sir?
I'm here. Good to be with you.
It's always a pleasure. Well, we're coming up on November, man. I get to go to the polls and cast my ballot for either that giant douche or the turd sandwich. Which one are you going for this time around? You like that giant douche or you like that turd sandwich? I'm
going for the shit sandwich, man. I've been eating that for so many years. I'm just sort of used to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I am getting kind of sick of this choice between, poo-poo or doo-doo. I mean, you can either take, it's like a Chinese menu. You can either have column A or a column B. And, if you want column C, you got to go down the road somewhere, and your vote will not be counted. What do you think of that?
I think we're waking up to the fact that there has been no choice. There's really nobody that's going to represent us better than us. And me, I'm sort of crazy. I just think that we ought to take advantage of the technology that we have in America and countries all around the world. And I think that what we need to do is set up the communication technology in every community and let the people take over. That's what the Constitution attempted to do. It attempted to let the people decide what role they wanted, their federal, state, and local government to play in their lives. And I think the best way to fulfill the Constitution is to let the people decide and give everybody a real voice. We've got this technology. Why not use it?
Well, but before we get into the specifics of your plan, because I know you've put a lot of thought into this, you've got a plan that you would like to see implemented. And I definitely want to make time for that. But we've got this interesting little drama going on in D.C. right now with this so-called government shutdown. And I gotta feel you out and get your impressions. I mean, what do you think? I mean, are you at all impressed with the showmanship coming out of D.C. right now?
Well, I think it's letting everybody know what kind of buffoons these people really are. And, we're sending them $3 trillion a year for them to basically
$2 2.25, and they're glomming the rest from the Fed Reserve, but that's okay.
Right. But I think we're awakening to the fact that they've done an absolutely horrible job. And I think that it's the Ponzi scheme that's finally coming to an end. These have been the Madoffs that have made off with our money, just like the other Madoff did. And, as soon as they stole the reserves from the Social Security Fund, that's our retirement pension plan, they turned it into a Ponzi scheme, because the difference between a Ponzi scheme and an insurance company has reserves. When they stole the reserves out of our retirement plan, they turned it into a Ponzi scheme. I think that they should all be indicted for running a Ponzi scheme. I don't think they're any different than Madoff and other people that have done it. And hey,
and to be fair, that wasn't the current jerk in chief. That was done under the Bill Clinton administration. So we got to give credit where credit's due. Bill Clinton came in with a budget surplus by raping and pillaging the Social Security Trust Fund that was intended to provide a comfortable retirement for you and I. So now, when we hit that magic age, we're going to be looking through our fingers, praying that the generations coming up after us are willing to fund our retirement.
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen because they're not stupid, and they take about 15% between the employer and the employee out of every check, and they finance that, but they're never going to get it. In fact, I personally don't think it's going to survive a couple more years, if that long, because now the reality is starting to hit. The reason they haven't had a balanced budget is because they haven't had the money. And the reason they haven't had the money is that they've been, money laundering it to their political cronies and lobbyists and the special interest. And that's not only been happening in Washington, it's been happening in state capitals, and it's the game that's being played right downtown in every community around the country. And that's why you're seeing communities go bankrupt around the country. The foundation of America is caving in, and the foundation is the communities, and they've been playing the same games at the bottom that they played at the top, and it's all at the expense of we the people. So, people are getting mad. I know I'd rather be on this side than their side, because I sure wouldn't want 300 million people mad at me.
Well, the way they do this, though, really, is they get us caught up in this my team against your team mentality. And when it comes to politics, it's like watching the Washington Redskins versus the Dallas Cowboys. And everybody wants to be on the winning team. So, and they divide us and conquer us. They keep us with our little petty divisions. They keep us worrying about whether or not gay people are going to be able to marry. They keep us worrying about all sorts of little, let's face it, people, trivial issues that government shouldn't be involved in anyway. But when it comes to the big issues, the issues that we thought we hired government to do, it doesn't matter which of the major parties you choose, you're going to get screwed either way.
That's right, and they're fighting over the greatest prize ever known to mankind. It's $3.5 million $3.5 trillion every year, and that's 3,500,000 divided by 535 guys, mainly lawyers. And if you think lawyers aren't smart enough to screw you out of your money, you're absolutely stupid. So that's what we've got. That's the system that we've got. We've got a top-down system that's benefiting the people at the top, and at the expense of the majority of the people at the bottom. And we just can't finance this scam any longer.
Let's get back to your plan, because now you've put a lot of thought into this, and you've actually developed a plan. If I remember correctly, even wrote a book about it. Obviously, I do want you to plug your book. If people are interested, tell them where they can buy it. But give us a little taste. Okay, we're coming up on November. I'm going to be voting for a governor here in the state of Virginia. And like I said at the beginning, I got this giant douche and I got this turd sandwich. I get to take my choice. Now, you got a plan where if it were implemented, we might be able to break ourselves out of this choice between poo-poo and doo-doo. Explain to people how we get there. And what would it look like?
Well, technology is curing cancer today. Technology is allowing us to communicate. We have all these different stations in the 21st century. We've got the travel channel, we've got the food channel, we've got the sports channel. We have all these different channels, but we don't have the most important channel in each community, and that channel is the local issues channel that gives you, the people, the ability to start raising different ideas to make your community better. It might be tax issues. Maybe somebody wants to raise the issue as to why we should get rid of property taxes in our community and explain how it's unconstitutional and how it takes our ability to own land away from us. Or healthcare issues or education issues, environmental issues, whatever it is. We've learned that federal, state, and local government is where great ideas go to die. So we need to put the necessary communication technology in our community and let great ideas go to thrive. And that's why we need a local issues TV and radio channel. Right now, we're making this a reality. We've approached public broadcasting, our local public broadcasting station in our community, and we've explained to them how how dire the situation is in America and our communities. And if we don't give the people the opportunity to start resolving the issues that they're concerned with non-violently through communication, they're going to do it, the way they're doing it in other countries, which is violently. So what we've got to do is we've got to use our local public broadcasting station to actually broadcast the public. And that will be our new local issues TV and radio channel. And we want the people that have issues, ideas in our community to come forward, present them directly to the community. We'll debate their ideas so that people are educated on these issues. And then people can vote on these different issues with any touch-tone phone. You'll call a local number. It'll go into a community computer that will have your citizen participation identification number. It will be the database for the voters in your community. It'll ask you what issue number you want to vote on. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, count your vote, block you out from voting more than once, and we can now have decisions made of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when we find things that work in our community, we'll share that with other communities, and when they find things that work, they'll share it with us, and we can start rebuilding America from the ground up. And the exciting thing about this is this plan will work in every country around the world. And we can start sharing ideas from people around the world. We now know that the politicians don't have the answers for anybody. When you look at the fact that we've got 300 million people here and we're using 535 bought and paid for people to do our thinking for us, I think we're finding out it's been a real brain-dead system because it really doesn't represent what the American people are really all about. The same holds true on the state level, and the same holds true for the local level. Here we've got 9 people that sit on a city council and make decisions for 250,000 people. That's not a litmus test as to how we, the people, feel about different ideas in our lives. And all we've got to do is put 2 components together, the broadcasting station to send your ideas out, and the community computer so that you can vote with any touch-tone phone, and we can receive how you feel on these different issues. Everybody's got access to a TV. Everybody's got access to a touch-tone phone. All you've got to do in your community is install the last 2 components, and all of a sudden, we've got 250,000 brain cells up and running in our community. You do that 1,000 times across America, you got 250 million brain cells up there, and that's a hell of a lot better than 535 bought and paid for brain cells in Washington.
Well, now, you've still got to have the administrators, because obviously, okay, we're going to have a vote, and the people have decided. They've decided on X. Now, in theory, you would have to have hired bureaucrats of some sort that would then execute the plan. Now, the way it was originally intended, our representatives in the Congress were supposed to come up with the plan, and the executive officer, the president, was supposed to execute the Congress's orders. It hasn't really worked out that way, particularly in recent days, but that was the intent. Now, once again, there's 2 things about your plan that I think are going to concern some people. How do we make sure that once we've made a decision, it is properly implemented by those who we hire and pay to do our bidding? And how do we keep the process from becoming a pure democracy where 51% of the people can get together and vote that they should have David Frank's Mercedes? How do we handle things like that?
Yeah, let me start with the last part first, because I don't think they're always, whenever you talk about the people deciding things, all of a sudden they're a mob. But for whatever reason, when it's 5-4 on the city council, that's called a majority. When it's 50,000 to 40,000 in your community, the 50,000 is a mob. The majority and the minority are always going to change, and people will know that, and they are not going to do to somebody else what they would not want somebody else to do to them. And so I don't think they're going to vote to take David Frank's Mercedes. All the issues have to go through a filtering system, and the filtering system will be 10 people picked at random every week, like a grand jury. If I have an idea that I think can make the community better, I present it to those 10 people. If the majority think that this is an idea that should be considered by the community, I go to the next step. The next step is videotaping me presenting that information to the community itself. And it's nobody's going to make nobody in the future is going to make as dumb a decisions as have been made in the past. Nobody, because those are bought and paid for decisions. What we're looking for in our
seen that clearly.
Is good common sense decisions that make our communities better. And it's not giving all of our power to one person or 535 people or 9 people. It's everybody being empowered. That I won the Dr. Martin Luther King Award here in Indiana because this plan fulfills the dream of Dr. King. He didn't want black people to have a voice. He wanted all people to have a voice. That's what this plan does. It gives every one of us a real voice in building the kind of world that we want to live in. Some issues you'll win, some issues you'll lose. That's the way it works. But the thing is when you go with the majority, when an issue is resolved, you're going to make the most number of people happy. And just because the people are raising, debating, and voting on issues, I don't think they're going to promote tyrannical ideas that are going to hurt someone else or themselves. I think they're going to come up with good ideas to bring our cost of living down in our communities so that instead of having to work 100 hours a week, paying taxes with most of that labor, we can get back to working very little and enjoying the planet, and enjoying our families, enjoying our friends, and getting back to the way it used to be. But the people on the receiving end are not going to do this for us. We need to start asking the payers of these taxes, not the receivers of our taxes, what we want our tax monies to be used for. But
there's a good argument for that. I mean, I look at this Obamacare, and we what we seem to have had here is we've had 535 plus 1. Decide for all of us that we're going to support their favored health insurance providers who just happen to have written the legislation and happen to have donated a big chunk of change in campaign contributions. And yet that more and more people are waking up to the fact that this is a payback scenario. It's a tit for tat. And, I have to kind of agree with you somewhat that the chances that, the majority of people within the nation would pull that kind of a stunt is probably less than what we have right now. I'm sure there will be some abuse. There always is. Whenever you get that many people together under one roof, there's always going to be somebody pushing and shoving for more power than what others might wish to bestow upon them. That's just human nature. But I suspect it would be less likely than what we have right now.
Well, the thing is, nobody has any more power than anybody else. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. We have too few people with way too much power. And I'm not only talking about the people in Washington, I'm talking about the people behind the curtain, the very wealthy and the corporations that have actually written the laws that we are forced to live with. These laws that we have that we're trying to live with did not come from we the people. It came from special interest, written by lobbyists, and added on by politicians. It's a good multi-level marketing pyramid, organized crime scam is all it is. And the only way to take that much power back from the people at the top is to pull the ladder from the bottom. That's why you do it in your community, and you, the people, decide and control the money and the things that go on in your community. Not one person, everybody working together. This is what you call collective consciousness. And using as many brain cells as possible, as opposed to our present brain dead system where 535 brain cells are making decisions for 300 million brain cells. And it's going to be incredible, the great ideas, not the political ideas, but the great ideas that start coming from we the people. And these ideas aren't meant to fix America. They're meant to fix our communities. And if everybody starts at working it to fix our communities, the next thing you know, America will be fixed. But you aren't going to do it from the top down.
I hear that. Now, okay, suppose I'm Podunk Junction, and somehow I manage to enact this plan in Podunk Junction. What chance do you think there is that the state government would recognize the authority of the new regime in Podunk Junction, or do you think they might send the state police in there to round up the rabble rousers? What do you obviously the powers that be do have all the guns and a lot of guys in uniform who seem very willing to use them. How do you expect this to be a peaceful revolution, or do you think at some point or another somebody's going to have to stand up and fight?
No, I think it'll be peaceful, because what we're really doing is we're feeding the cancer that's killing us. And by us not having a voice, we're basically forced to finance these power structures, the state, which you mentioned, the federal. And I've studied the system for 25 years, ever since I heard about NAFTA and Waco and things like that. And I cannot see any real purpose for the center of this multi-level marketing pyramid scam. I don't know why we need state governments that are making money off the sale of alcohol that's killing us. It's making money off the sale of tobacco that's killing us. It's making money off of gambling that's destroying lives through divorce, suicide, bankruptcy, and they're involved in extortion, because they're the ones that basically now own all the land in your state, and you rent the land from them through property taxes. And if you can't pay your property taxes for your home or business or both, they basically throw you out, just like the mafia used to do to small business owners. And they're doing everything that the mafia used to do. And I just cannot see any reason why sending our money to state governments so they can steal most of it and then send us a few crumbs back is any way to run a country or a business or anything. And the problem is, constitutionally, they're the lawmakers. They make the laws that legally allow them to steal our money, and that's why we, the people, need a voice, so that we can decide if those laws are just or unjust, and let the people decide as a community. And once you stop sending them their sales tax and their money from license plates and fishing licenses and trailer licenses and drivers, all this baloney that has ruined our economy and our communities, because this is the thing that's sucking the money out of our communities. I mean, our communities are like an engine with no oil in them, or a body with no blood in it. They can't function, and we have no cash. They have extracted the cash out of our communities that allows we, the people, to barter with each other, to provide goods and services to one another. And if we have no cash, because it's all in state capitals financing these bogus political projects that are feeding their cronies and business partners, unless we can stop that from happening, we as a patient communities will die. That's why we need a voice, so that we can say, we raised the issue, we debated it intelligently, we voted on it intelligently in a civilized way, and we decided, instead of sending our money to state capitals, we're going to keep our money right in our community to take care of things like community health care, not national health care, community health care, where you, the people, own the hospital, you own everything. The doctors are on salary, not on commission, like used car salesmen. You can buy your pharmaceuticals through the hospital, as opposed to these corporate drug dealers that roll into town and make fortunes off of selling you, these overpriced drugs that have more side effects than Carter's Got Liver pills. And you start to organize, and you organize your own community healthcare system where instead of sending your premiums to Washington or insurance companies, you actually finance your hospital to do the things that you want done. And you let them do what they're hopefully good at. And that to me is just one of the ideas that is waiting to be heard out there by the people that have ideas to make your community better. But the only ideas that federal, state, and local government have is, hey, we want to steal your money for these pet projects to feed our friends. We raised our hands. We voted on these issues, and it's the law. It may not be right, but it's legal. Or it may not be wrong, but it's illegal. We can't live in a world like that anymore. And the exciting thing about this is this plan can work in every country around the world. Everyone around the world now has access to this technology. All they've got to do is start putting the components together so that everybody around the world has a real voice, and we no longer have to be victims of these egomaniac, sociopathic leaders that think that they are the all-knowing. The all-knowing is what we all know. The trick is tapping into what we all know. You don't do it from the top down because it only benefits the people at the top. You have to do it from the ground up, and that's community by community.
David Frank, with only a minute left, please, a little blatant self-promotion for you, please.
Yeah, the name of my book is called 300, the number 300, and the word million minds, changing America piece by piece, P-I-E-C-E by P-E-A-C-E. 300 million minds, changing America piece by piece. And it's on Amazon, and it's got the blueprints that you need to be a real activist in your community. You approach your city council, you approach your public broadcasting, and you say, I've got an idea so that the people in our community can all have a voice, so that actually you can start representing the people. Because remember, you can't represent anybody unless you're communicating with them. And I can tell you, I'm sick